Hello, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Linda and this is Beyond Brass. I do paper crafting, make junk journals, that kind of thing. Today I have on my desk the new kit from Tracy Fox. It's called Dispatch. No, not Dispatch. It's Christmas Dispatch. Something like that. I want to call it Dispatch because she did one maybe 3 years ago that had the same idea, but this one is all Christmas themed. So it's got some like amazing papers, like just brilliant. I have printed them all two to a page because of the idea I have. I did this one with Dispatch long before I had a YouTube channel. I would show you what it looks like, but I gave away the journal I made, so I can't even show you my idea. But what I want to do is an altered book and glue these pages on top of the pages remaining in the book so that the book looks like it is made from these pages. And when I did it before with the Dispatch, it looked so good. I want to use a really little book. And these, okay, might be too tall. This was my original idea to use this one, but I think it's too high, which is good because I in the end, didn't want to use it because it's all about, it's a devotions for every day of the year. And I really like it. But if I cut these in half, I got it at a thrift store, so it's not like I'm sacrificing something that I had bought for, but I'm still not sure I want to use this one. And it looks, the pages are going to be the right width, but they will be too short, which would mean that I would need to put something on the top or potentially leave it blank at the bottom. So that was one idea. I'll show you how I was thinking of the pages going, and then we'll go from there. The next one that I found in my stash is this one, but it's considerably taller than the other one. If you're going to do an altered book, make sure that you find one that has sewn-in signatures, like apparently I've already taken out one of the pages in here. It will have thread somewhere there's thread, and you just pull them out where the thread is. So sometimes it can be hard to find, especially at the beginning there. So I don't know here if you can see, there's a little piece of thread right here, and you would cut all these threads, pull all the pieces of paper out until you have nothing remaining but the edge of the signature, which are glued to one another. So that's the idea, but I will show you when I get a little bit closer to that. So again, this is even shorter than the other one. So if I print it two to a page, it might be, and it's even a little bit wider than the other one. So I don't know that this one will work, but that was another idea that I had to use for a book. And then I went to Dollarama this morning and found 3 little notebooks, all of which will work 100%. These will work. Some of them might be a bit narrow, but I'd rather they be too narrow than too wide because I can cut off little bits and pieces, but I can't add height. I mean, I can, but I'd rather not. So this one is going to be exactly the right height. It was $3 at Dollarama. You could look at Dollar Tree to see if you can find something like this. If you're looking, like I said, make sure you find one that has not glued binding, but sewn in little signatures. And all of these that I picked up have sewn in little signatures. I always find it hard to find the sewing in part. Once I get going, it's easier, but the first part is always a little tricky. And look in your stash to find out what you have in your stash. If you're going to print it 2 to a page, you want it to be short. And one of the reasons I did it the way I did it before was because I had a book exactly the right size. And this one should also, beauteous. Yes, it's a tiny bit narrow, just a tiny bit narrow, but I think I like this one the best. Pages in this one are really thin. If you're in Canada and you want to get that from Dollarama, it's only $1.75, beats the thrift store. And then the other one I found, I love the cover of this one, but again, I think it might be, it's a small, tiny bit too high. And I'm not worried about the size of the cover because it's the interior that's going to matter. And that one will work for the interior. So this one has a little bit heavier weight pages, which might be nice. And it also has a ribbon, which, I kind of like the ribbon. And it has a pen, which I'm going to take out for now because that's not important. You can just tell which one I decided I'm going to use. So, where do I start? Let's start by showing you how to gut it. This one will be easier to gut as well because it lays a little bit flatter. So your first thing you want to do is find the threads. And don't let them trick you. I had to pull this apart. The threads were actually kind of glued together. So what you want to do, I'm using a seam ripper. It's actually one of the easiest things to get under those little double pieces of thread, and just use the sharp part of your seam ripper against the threads and just pull the threads. This is the way I like to do it. I think there are other ways to do it as well. And then I'm just going to come and pull them all up like so until, like I said, you get to the glued in one. And don't worry about these little threads. They're going to be covered. And all these little pieces of paper, keep them in your stash. You can just throw these in the signature of your next junk journal and you're good to go. So just keep pulling and pulling. So that, you can tell, don't pull this one because it's glued to your end paper. So that's the last one. Now we have all kinds of little bits of thread in here and little bits of extra paper. You can kind of pull that extra paper off, and if you wanted to, you could kind of trim these a tiny bit if you felt like it. It will make them stick inside your signatures a little bit less. So that's the first one. So I'm going to go off and I'm going to gut it, and then I'll come back. On this one, I am taking out all the papers up to the two that are glued together. However, you don't have to do that. Part of the reason for pulling these out is the depth of your journal is going to grow, and wind up with quite a large gator mouth if you put more pages in than you have room for. So one of the reasons for pulling the pages out is to keep it from getting too thick. But if you want more pages in your journal, just leave more pages in. Don't pull all of them out up to that line of stitching. And I might do that in the middle bit. I might leave a few more pages in this what would be the center 2 or maybe even 3. I think there's like 9 little signatures in this. Okay, so that's about how many pieces of paper came out of this little notebook. And you can see that it has made a considerable difference to the depth of it at this point in time. But we're going to change all that. So what I want to do is I want to work from the front to the back. And you'll notice that the ones that are in the center are wider than the ones that are glued together because the glue makes it shorter. But that's just means that you may need to trim a little bit. So the first thing that I will want to do is I'll want to cut, because I printed these 2 to a page, I need to cut them in half. For this, I use my Fiskars, and there's a little wire in the Fiskars that if you line it up with your line on your page, you will get a perfect cut every time. So that's why I use my the Fiskars for doing this. And obviously I'm not going to want these 2 pages back to back, so I'll put one aside to use later. And then what I will do, I'm folding it with the nice side facing me just so that I can get a better idea if it's folded perfectly in half. And then I am going to ink around these for reasons that I don't really know, because I don't normally ink. But Tracy's kits just look so good when you ink around the edges of them. They're kind of like they're meant to. And I'm doing it folded in half, so I do half as much work because I'm like lazy like that. And I won't ink all of these on camera because you don't need to see that. That would bore you to tears. Not to mention that you would hate the sound of it. Or maybe you don't. Maybe you love that sound and I'm the oddball. So I did fold that wrong side out, so now I'm just going to fold it back so that it's the way that it belongs. Which is easy to do because you already put the crease in there. And it is a little bit... This one is going to be a bit wider and it's a tiny bit shorter. So I'm going to make sure that I line it up center on here. And this has rounded corners, so I'm going to need to use my corner rounder. And I'll probably do it once all the pages are in rather than before. Just because I think that might be easier. So I'm going to start off, I'm going to use glue stick because this will be easier than trying to do, and I'm going to turn my book around and around and around and around for no other reason than because I think it will make a difference, but it won't. Just a secret, it won't. I was starting to say about corner rounding. I think what I'll do is I'll glue all the pages in to begin with, and then do the corner rounding at the very end, so that the edges are all even at the end of it. And I want to, hopefully this will show because it sticks upright a little bit. I want to put this so that the fold is deep inside the fold of this little book and line it up, like I said, so that it's centered in the book. And then, this is probably not going to show because of the angle, but I'm going to use my little burnishing tool and push the edge of that crease all the way butt up against the fold of the book, and then burnish outward from there, like so. I don't know if you can see that. Hopefully you can see that. Boom, like so. And then I'm also going to come in on the inside of that and do the same again. You can see that there's a little tiny, like a 1/16 of an inch, maybe even less than that, hangs out the edge of that. So, where are my long scissors? I put them away, go figure. I thought they were part of my craft-a-lunch. I'm wearing my contacts, not my glasses, so hopefully I don't cut the page off. And sorry, I know you probably couldn't see that. Now the other thing is, because I'm using glue stick and not Fairly Arts, as I do that, there may be edges at the corners that don't adhere completely. So I will just put a little tiny bit of glue along the edge of that page at the corner specifically to make sure that holds down. And burnish it into place. If your corners adhere nicely, you don't need to do that, but I find I often don't get enough glue towards the edge. So, like so. So now I have one page glued in a craft-a-lunch because those are the most fun. Now what I will do is the second page. So on this one, I am going to put a piece of paper in here so I don't get glue on this page. This is just some wax paper. I'll open that up like so it's flatter. Now again, I want to get glue all the way to the edges of this, like all the way. And to the inside of that as well, like so. Now I think I have glue nicely on that. So again, hopefully you can see this. I'll try to lay it in such a way that you can see this. So again, I'm just going to push my paper as far back as it can go so that it's all the way at the crease. And then I am kind of shutting the book as I pull it out so that it lays as flat as possible. And then the same here, like so. And this one looks like it's closer to even on that page. So, and it also looks like it has glued down. So this is the concept of how your pages will look once everything is glued in. And you can just come in And if you wanted to, burnish down just a little so that they fit nice and flat at each stage. And like I said, you could round these corners now so that they match, but I think I'm going to leave them until everything is in, because it's not going to make that much difference. So I'm going to go off and glue everything in, and I will come back and show you what it will look like when I'm done. Well, that took a hot minute. And it's not perfect. As you can see, a lot of the pages are further out from the spine of the book. Probably the easiest thing to do is to take a ruler and an X-Acto knife and just go down from the top and cut. But I don't want to do that just in case I get to the bottom and cut through the spine or the cover by mistake. The cover is cute. I will cover it with something, probably fabric, even though it might be a little challenging around the back edge here where the pen is supposed to go in. I mean, realistically, I probably should have used one of the other books, but this one is, I don't know, there's something about this one that's so cute. So, let me just show you what this will look like. A lot of the pages need trimming back, like I said, and I will round all the corners as well once I am done trimming all the pages. So some of them have like quite a bit of white space. Some of them don't have as much white space. A lot of it was dependent on how the glue was on the pages. And like you can see on this one, there's a bit of gapping here because of how that glue was, but it's not too bad. I glued from the inside out so that I have the paper is one full piece of paper this way. But you can do it if you're doing something like this. You can cut each page the size of your little journal page or book page and glue it page by page. You could take it and fold your page in half this way and glue it on that way instead, so that it's the pages go from there to there and meet in the middle. You can do it however you want. Like you don't have to cover them. With this, obviously it works better. Maybe not obviously. For me, it worked better because it was a little tiny journal, like, or a little notebook thing. So I kind of liked it better having every page covered. But if you're using a book, leave book pages if that's your preference. Again, it will look a lot different once all these edges are trimmed, and I will do that on my own. But let's just flip through it without further ado so that you don't hear me nattering away. Oh, the other thing is I only used regular copy paper, nothing stronger, because as you can see, this gives it a lot of strength. By the time you have 2 pieces of regular paper and a piece of whatever your book is, this is really strong. So if you are using something thicker than copy paper when you're gluing it, be aware it's going to make this a lot bigger to begin with. And you can see without anything in it, it's already a little bit gappy. It might not be quite so gappy if I put a weight on it. And in some of the middle ones, I didn't pull out every single page, which makes it thicker. So here my page buckled when I glued it, so I figured why not embrace it and add a little bit of grunge to it. Some of the pages aren't perfectly square. I can see they shifted as I glued them in. But that will probably, as I trim them back, it won't be as noticeable. And like I said, there's more gapping in some of the pages because of the way the pages were glued in. Most of these pages were from the kit pages printed 2 to a page, but some, like this one in Tracy's kit, she has the portrait ones that are tall and skinny. All I did is cut the page in half lengthwise and leave it the same width as the page, and then glued it on like so. This will be so cute once all the little bits and pieces are glued off or trimmed off. Some of these, like this one's got that nice little page flag. Because of the way it sits on the page, that's going to wind up being trimmed off, so I'll probably cover this and then add it back in, or just cover it completely. And I'll probably need to re-ink after I trim all the pages so that they're not quite so silly. And it lies nice and flat because you take so many pages out. There's a couple that don't, like this one, but it'll be fine. As long as the glue doesn't glue it together. I seem to have gotten a little bit too much glue on that page. And that's it. I could put something on the end pages. I'll determine that once I'm finished. And I need to erase the glue off of that one. But until next time, have a lovely crafty day. And let me know if you try something like that, because they're so much fun. Talk to you later. Bye.